What is up, guys? Today we are going to use the Sportster, and we're going to show you things that you need to look for when you go to pick up a bike off marketplace, used, whatever, things you really should know. And if you want to watch this whole video, hopefully by the end of it you will be a much smarter buyer. Let's get into it. So we're going to go through this bike, kind of show you what I would do step by step when you're going to go look at a bike used. You don't know the people, you don't know the bike, you haven't seen it before, you don't know anything about it. So let's go through it step by step, tell you what I know, what I think you should do, and hopefully by the end of it you're going to be a smart shopper, and hopefully you won't get screwed, you won't get scammed, or maybe you'll just find a bike at a little bit better deal. You'll be able to knock some money off and get you something a little better. So step number one, I'm gonna say this: try to figure out a price point before you get there. If I negotiate 90% of my deals before I ever get there, got a price in mind, we've already locked it in. I know a lot of people only want to haggle in person. Usually that doesn't go well. If there's no price on the bike and they just want you to come see it, you have no idea where they're at price wise, I would just skip over that bike. If the bike is way more than you're willing to pay and you feel like you're going to go there and lowball them, don't do it, because you're probably going to be disappointed. I would come up with a price in mind, maybe negotiate with that person, or if the price is already good enough, maybe head that way, try to negotiate a little bit. But you need to have like a standard. You need to have, this is what I'm willing to pay. Maybe you get there, it's not quite what you would hope for, so maybe you try to get some money off. But if the deal doesn't work, don't buy something that you're not going to be happy with. It's okay to walk away. Also, don't lowball people just like egregiously. I try not to lowball people. I've had people lowball me. I've had people come to look at a bike without talking about price and go way lower than I was expecting. And the shock value of that is just so far off. It's like, no, I'm not going to sell it. Like, just don't lowball people. But also, if it's not worth it, walk away. That's okay. So have that price in mind. Next step, if you can, try to show up with that bike completely cold. You've probably seen a bunch of videos when you're looking at bikes. They'll go over, touch the exhaust, start the bike up, whatever. The reason for that is bikes don't always, and cars as well, don't always act the same cold as they do hot. Sometimes you can mask a problem when the bike's already warmed up, especially with carbureted bikes. Now this is a fuel injected model, but with a carburetor, sometimes the idle is rough. If it's not adjusted properly, you're probably going to figure that out. And at this point in time, since it's been so long since they've made carbureted, at least Harleys, if you have a carbureted bike you're going to go look at, unless it's in pristine condition, just assume you're going to have to go through and just clean that carb. It's really not that hard. Plenty of YouTube videos about it. You can figure it out, I promise. Just think that you're going to have to do that. But if you're able to start that bike up cold, even a fuel injected model, you might be able to hear a cam chain tensioner or just a little rattle or knock that you might not hear once everything's pumped up and ready to go. You'll really be able to hear the starter and battery and just kind of see where that bike is and if there's any issues that maybe they didn't know. Now, sometimes you'll show up, you've already had the bike running, it's already warm. That's not necessarily a devious thing, but you can just tell more from a motorcycle if you started up cold and then let it get hot and see how it goes from there. Next step that a lot of people miss is tires. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So with tires, you really want to get down there and figure out if these tires are good or not. Because at first glance, you look at that, you've got a lot of tread on that tire still left. And it doesn't look bad. And you can get down in there and you can really look at the tire and see if there's any cracking, dry rotting, any of that type of stuff, because that's important. You've only got 2, so you really want your tires to hold up. That's something you really need to expect. It can be expensive per the model, so you want to look at these and really investigate, are these tires in good shape? Also, there's a date for these. Let me show you that. So you're going to see a little tag right there. I think it says 3921. So that's going to say the 39th week in year 2021. That's when this tire was made. So technically, this tire is pretty much in date. You don't really want to go past 5 years. That tire is pretty much 5 years old. I already know the rear one's a little older than that. That could be something you can do in negotiating. To be like, hey, these tires are pretty old. They're not really showing signs of wear, but they need to be changed. Might be able to knock some money off. Tire changes can be kind of expensive on bikes if you're not doing them yourselves. You can take the wheels off and get it a little bit cheaper. But if you just roll your bike up and ask for 2 tires, on something like this, you could easily spend probably $500 to $800, and sometimes up to like $1,500 on other models. It can be expensive. So look at your tires. That could be some negotiating power. And I'm not super worried about these tires right here, but you always want to check for cracking, dry rot, how much tread wear, see if it's worn weird, all those types of things. Tires are important. Another important thing is brakes. And I do feel like you can probably use this to your advantage of talking down somebody just a little bit of money possibly, because no one ever flushes their brake fluid. Now, on a motorcycle, I would assume typically you have rear brakes right down here and front brakes up here. Now down here, our rear brake actually feels pretty decent. When I push that, I do feel like I've got some pretty decent pushback, and the brake engagement is not bad. Now up here, with just one finger, I'm completely compressing the brake lever. I know those brakes are not doing much at all. The sight glass is completely just worn out. You cannot see through there. I guarantee you this brake fluid is brown, possibly sludgy. And now, don't get me wrong, we can probably take out all this fluid, flush that line, and go through here, and we can probably pump these brakes back up to where they work halfway decent. I will say that. But I would say this has no front brakes right now, so that can be a big problem with riding, and I would not currently ride it in its state, nor would I want anyone else to, for sure. So that is another negotiating power, because people really don't do that. Now, of course, you can check the actual brake pad. If you can kind of get in there and see, you can kind of check and see how much brake pad you have, a little thickness in there. But that's not a full indication if your brakes are going to work or not. The best thing to do is to come up, squeeze this, see where you're at, and yeah, this thing is going to at very least need a front flush to even operate, but of course we'll flush front and back. And a lot of the things I'm talking about are not necessarily making something a bad bike. Just a lot of times things get neglected, and these are the items that people don't do, and over time these things need to be addressed. So it's not necessarily a bad bike, it's not necessarily a bad buy, but maybe you can get yourself a couple $100 or something off that price, even that you negotiated price, just because they didn't tell you these things. So you might be able to save yourself a couple $100 and get a better bike, or get a cheaper bike and put the money into it, whichever way you want to go. Another one is front suspension. You can kind of see how dirty these fork tubes are, and there's not a lot of gap here. I'm going to pretty much put all my money on that these seals are blown out. There's no fluid in there. This bike's pretty much no good in the front suspension part. Again, people do not reseal these things, pump them back up, rebuild them. They don't do it. So you end up with a very floppy front end. Let's show you. You definitely should not be able to pretty much collapse the front end like that. Like, that's a lot of movement right there. That's not a lot of pressure. And with that much movement, well, you pretty much don't have front suspension. It's just gonna pogo all around. It's gonna dive when you don't want it to, and it's gonna raise right back up. You can see that fluid right there. So that means there's some in there, but those seals aren't holding back anything. Basically, you need to blow this apart, put new seals in there, and just put fresh fluid in. While you're in there, it might be a good idea to change some springs out, especially if you want to get a more performance-oriented spring. They don't cost a lot of money. And if you don't want to reseal them yourself, because it's definitely a lot of work, and I've struggled keeping my Dyna sealed. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or whatever, but if you take the fork tubes off, you can probably find a shop who will reseal them at a decent price, and you'll save some money by taking the tubes off yourself and basically just taking this portion to them. And if you need to do tires, well, you already got the tire off while you're doing that. Of course, another obvious one is checking the oil. Now, I'm not super worried about checking the oil before starting up somebody else's bike, because if they don't take care of it and there's no oil in it when I start it up, well, that's on them. Once it's all hot, whatever, you can check it, check the oil if you want to, check it cold, check it hot, if you want to go that in depth. But check the oil, make sure there's plenty in there, make sure it doesn't look really bad. You can check the air filter if you want. I've never really done that, never super worried about that, but those are definitely things you can check. And then of course, check your belt. So these belts can last a long time and a lot of miles. Basically what happens is these lugs on here can start to fray or crack in these corners, and that's when they can start to go bad. You can also, there's a little gauge on here, check deflection and make sure you're kind of in that window so that everything is properly tensioned and hopefully not stretched or running super loose, and you can damage the belt in different ways. Belts do last a really long time if they're maintained well and definitely kept indoors, but you know, it's definitely something to check. You want to make sure. And then of course you can kind of peek at the exhaust. This definitely has some rust, but I don't think anything's rusted through. One thing I don't see people talk about much when like getting bikes and stuff is making sure the front end is true and straight. That definitely can happen. I picked up a Dyna that it was kind of tilted off. The handlebars were straight, but the wheel was kind of tilted off to one side. Definitely rode really bad. Couldn't ride it home like that. Had a trailer anyways, but that was a very strange experience. And it basically what happened is somebody kind of backed into the tire, kind of shot the wheel off to one side. But you want to kind of straighten everything up and just make sure everything is in a straight line. And as you see, that fender is not straight, but you're looking for the wheel, because that's kind of what's important for the alignment. That fender has had some minor damage. Much rather the fender take a little damage than the wheel itself or the front end, but you can see this is pretty square, and even if it's not, don't fret too much. There is a way to fix it. So a lot of times, if everything is a little out of square, the best thing to do is, if you can get this in a wheel chock and get the front end off the ground a little bit, and you loosen up these screws, you can kind of twist the front end in the triple trees and get them back squared up. And if your wheel is a little tweaked, you can also loosen up the axle or whatever and just kind of get everything back squared again. Because a lot of times what happens is things just shift. It's like doing an alignment. So you can square everything back up and you don't have a trashed front end. You just need to basically align everything back up. That can be a huge money saver at the time of purchase, is if you can show somebody their front end's not straight, I'm sure they're going to take some money off for that. Or if it's not something you want to deal with and hassle, take a really good first look and make sure that everything's in good working order. And if it's not, walk away. Another big one is just look for any type of oil leakage. I know that's pretty standard, but not everyone says it. But look for any little bit of oil residue you can find, because that might tell a story that the owner's not telling you. And of course, check for your clutch feel. Make sure the engagement feels right. Make sure it doesn't feel weird or out of place or just kind of misadjusted really bad. This one's kind of low miles, so I'm not super worried about it. And then of course, make sure there's no fraying on the end of this. If these cables are not lubricated and taken care of, especially if they're outside, they can snap. Same with throttle cables inside here. It's a lot harder to kind of check. You do kind of want to like just do a little check and make sure that your throttle cables are snapping and moving like they should. That could just lead to a misadjustment. And of course, you can check for your turn signals, brake lights, headlights, switches, all those different things, but I feel like that's pretty standard. I did kind of want to bring up just items that maybe you didn't know. Hopefully, maybe this can help somebody get a little bit better deal on their bike, or find one that just they thought was a good deal and they know better, to walk away and save themselves some headache down the road. Because sometimes it's not always about buying the cheapest bike. Even though that's kind of my forte, sometimes you want to find just the best deal and you don't want to get screwed over. So I wanted to make this video just to hopefully help somebody buy themselves a good bike. And while this one is not the definition of a good bike, I knew what I was getting into and it was a good price. So hopefully, maybe this helped you. I really wanted to hopefully help anyone out there who can now know a little bit better of what to do. If you can, hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below if you did find anything helpful. And if I left something out, I definitely probably didn't go over everything, but I wanted to go over some things that I really look for and things that I think that people don't always bring up. So I wanted to share that with you. Comment down below, like, subscribe, greatly appreciate it. And always keep it wretched.